Did you know that you already speak to money every day? Yes, you heard that right. At this very moment, without realizing it, you are having constant conversations with money. In your thoughts, in your reactions, in what you say when you look at your bank account. The question is not whether you speak to money. The question is, are you speaking consciously or unconsciously? As a commander or as a beggar? Because here is the truth Neville Goddard and his teacher Abdullah discovered. When you change the way you speak to money, when you shift from unconscious conversations of fear to conscious commands of authority, your financial life changes completely. And here is the promise I make to you. If you absorb what I am about to teach you now, you will never again feel powerless in front of your financial situation, because you will understand that money is not your judge. Money is obedient energy that responds to the authority of the one who speaks to it consciously. Prepare yourself, because what comes next will challenge everything you were taught about money. Let's begin. Before we get into the secret, you need to understand where it came from. Neville Goddard studied for 5 years with Abdullah, an Ethiopian Jewish rabbi, a master of Kabbalah, and a profound knower of the spiritual laws regarding prosperity and money. And Abdullah taught Neville something that most spiritual teachers never teach: how to command reality. Not ask, not wait, command. Neville wrote about this period. Abdullah never taught me to wait for blessings. He taught me to assume authority over my reality, and that authority expressed itself through my words and my consciousness. And one of the most practical and most misunderstood teachings Abdullah passed on to Neville was about the relationship between consciousness, spoken word, and money. So let's go to the fundamental principle. Pay very close attention, because this is the foundation of everything. Money is not a physical thing. It is conscious energy that reflects the state of consciousness of the one who interacts with it. Neville explained it this way in his lectures. The outer world, including every penny in your bank account, is your consciousness objectified. Money does not decide where to go. Money goes where consciousness directs it. Let that sink in. Money has no will of its own. It does not judge you. It does not choose who is worthy or unworthy. It simply reflects and obeys. Most people treat money as if it were a strict master that needs to be convinced, pleased, begged. They bow to money. They fear money. They speak about money with resentment, with despair, with envy. But never, never do they speak directly to money as someone who has authority. And here's the truth Abdullah taught. When you speak to money directly, with authority, with clear command, you are directing conscious energy, and conscious energy must respond. It is not optional. It is law, like gravity. Neville wrote in The Power of Awareness, consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is consciousness objectified. When you assume authority in your consciousness and express it through your words, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself to reflect that authority. So when you speak to money, not waiting, not asking, but commanding, you are exercising the natural authority that Abdullah taught. You are not being arrogant. You are being what you truly are, creative consciousness operating through a human body. Now, how exactly do you speak to money? What is the specific method Neville and Abdullah used? First, recognize that money is a servant, not a master. Abdullah would tell Neville, money is like an obedient dog. It goes where you call it, but if you fear it, if you bow before it, it does not respect your authority and it will not come. So the first thing you need to do is change internally your position regarding money. You are not a beggar begging for money. You are the consciousness that governs money. Neville constantly taught, it does not matter how many creditors you owe, it does not matter what the bank says you have. If you assume success and persist in that assumption, you cannot fail. This is the law by which all live. Do you see the absolute certainty in that sentence? You cannot fail. Why? Because when you assume authority over money in your consciousness and maintain that assumption, physical money must manifest. It is a law of consciousness. Second, speak directly to the money you already have. This is crucial, and most people do not do this because they think they do not have enough money for this to make a difference. But Neville taught the exact opposite. He would say, it does not matter if you have $1 or $1 million. Speak to what you have. Direct it. Command it. Tell it what to do. So here is the practical exercise. Open your bank account. Look at the number that is there. It can be $50, it can be $500, it can be $5,000. Do not lament that it is little. Do not compare it to what you wish you had. Speak directly to that number, out loud, with authority. Say, this $500 now multiplies. This money I see here is only the surface. Beneath it, there are millions moving in my direction. I command you to increase. I order you to bring more money to me quickly, easily, abundantly. You are doing two things simultaneously. One, you are assuming authority over money, Abdullah's principle. Two, you are directing the energy of money with your words, Neville's principle. Neville wrote, nothing has ever happened to you that you did not set in motion in your imagination. When you express your desire must be genuine. You must want it so much that you are willing to remain faithful to your change of position. Third, speak to money as if it were already your obedient servant. Abdullah taught Neville to never ask, never beg, always decree. The difference between asking and decreeing is the difference between hope and certainty. When you ask for money, you are saying, I don't have it. I need it. Please come to me if you want. When you decree money, you are saying, I have authority here. I command. You come now. Neville told the story of a man who needed a large amount of money urgently. The man was desperate, praying, begging, hoping something would happen. Neville stopped him and said, stop asking. Start decreeing. Say out loud, I command that X dollars come to me now, under grace, in perfect ways, and then stop worrying about how. Your job is to command. The universe's job is to deliver. The man did exactly that. He began decreeing daily, with authority, without doubt. Within a week, he received an unexpected offer that brought exactly the amount he had commanded. Neville wrote, if you want to succeed in business, you can. I do not care how many creditors you owe or what the bank says you have. If you assume success and persist in that assumption, you cannot fail. This is the law by which all live. Fourth, bless the money when it leaves. This teaching is counterintuitive for most people, but it is deeply powerful. Most people, when paying a bill, do so with pain, with resentment, with fear that they won't have enough afterwards. But Neville taught the opposite. He said, when money leaves, bless it. Send it with joy, because when you bless the money that leaves, you are declaring, there is infinite abundance. This is not the last. This is just part of the flow that moves through me. So the next time you pay a bill, speak to that money before releasing it. Say out loud, I bless you, money. Go with joy, multiply yourself, and return to me in greater abundance than when you left. Why does this work? Because you are assuming abundance. You are living from a state of consciousness of there is more where this came from, not from a state of scarcity and fear. And Neville constantly taught, the state of consciousness you assume determines what manifests in your reality. Fifth, personify money in conscious conversations. Now we are going to the deeper level. Abdullah taught Neville that everything in creation, including money, responds to directed consciousness. So you can literally have conversations with the energy of money. Not as if money were a person with ego and emotions, but as if it were conscious energy that responds to clear direction. For example, in the morning, you can say mentally or out loud, "Good morning, money. I know you are flowing in my direction now. Show me the channels today. Open the paths. I am ready to receive you in great quantity. Come to me easily, quickly, abundantly." Or, before an important meeting, "Money, I call you into this situation now. Flow through this opportunity. Manifest yourself clearly. I decree that you appear generously." Or when you are looking at your account and feeling lack, "Money, I know you have not abandoned me. You are infinite. You are always available. I now release any block between us. Come to me now." Does this sound strange? Maybe at first. But Neville taught, your imagination can be used for good or for ill. When you personify and direct your imagination toward money, you are using the creative power consciously. And when you personify money and speak to it, you change your psychological relationship completely. You stop being afraid. You stop feeling powerless. You assume the role Abdullah taught, the role of the conscious creator who directs the energies of reality. Now, let me explain why this works. Because it is not magic in the sense of a trick, it is spiritual law being correctly applied. When you speak to money, you are doing three things simultaneously. First, you are assuming a position of authority over it. Neville wrote, "Man is only a state of consciousness. He can be in a state of poverty or in a state of wealth. They are only states, and you can change state now." When you speak to money with authority, you are internally assuming the state of someone who has authority over money. And when you assume that state and remain faithful to it, the external reality must reflect it. Second, you are concentrating your intention in an extraordinarily powerful way. Instead of vague thoughts like, "I wish I had more money," you are creating a direct, specific, active relationship with the energy of money. And Neville taught, when you direct your imagination with clarity and specificity, manifestation is inevitable. Third, you are using the creative power of spoken words. Neville constantly taught about the power of the verb, the spoken word. He said, "In the beginning was the Word." Your words are verb. They are creative energy in action. When you speak, you are shaping the invisible substance of reality. So when you speak to money, out loud, with conviction, with authority, you are literally shaping the energy of money to flow in your direction. It is not empty positive thinking. It is precise application of spiritual law. Neville told the story of his brother Victor. Victor Goddard had a consuming desire to have money. He did not have a divided mind. He wanted wealth more than anything. And Victor did exactly what I am teaching you now. He spoke to money. He assumed wealth. He lived internally as someone prosperous, even when externally he was not yet. Neville wrote about Victor. He wanted wealth more than anything and believed money was power. He was tired of poverty, and dreaming of wealth, his world became populated with people bringing him opportunities to make more and more money. And what happened? Victor became extremely wealthy, so wealthy that even today, decades after his death, the Goddard family still receives millions of dollars from the fortunes Victor created. How? Because Victor was not of two minds. He did not oscillate between "I want wealth" and "but I do not have wealth." He assumed wealth internally. He spoke to money as someone who has authority, and money responded. Neville explained, "You cannot assume that you have your desire for a moment and then return to your previous state. If you do that, you are a double-minded person and you will receive nothing." And here is something crucial Neville taught and Abdullah lived. Consciousness always precedes manifestation. You do not receive money and then feel rich. You feel rich first, and then the money appears. Neville wrote, "I do not care what the bank says you have. If you assume wealth consciously and persist in that assumption, you cannot fail. And part of assuming wealth is speaking from wealth. It is directing money as someone who has authority over it. It is not pretending. It is not lying. It is conscious assumption. Abdullah taught Neville, "You are consciousness, and consciousness creates. When you assume something as true in your consciousness and express it through your words, you are using the creative power in the most direct way possible." Neville also taught something that perfectly complements the act of speaking to money: feeling money as real. He wrote in "Feeling is the secret." It is not enough to think about what you want. You must feel as if you already have it. Feeling the reality of the desired state is the path of all miracles. So when you speak to money, you do not speak mechanically. You speak feeling that you have authority, feeling that money is already flowing, feeling that you are prosperous. Neville summarized all of this in one powerful sentence: assume what you desire to be true, persist in that assumption, and no matter how impossible it seems, it will manifest. Abdullah would add, and when you assume with authority and speak with command, manifestation is accelerated because words direct energy, and energy obeys. So, here is what you must understand deeply. Money is not your master. Money does not judge you. Money does not decide whether you deserve it or not. Money is conscious energy that responds. It responds to the position of consciousness of the one who interacts with it. It responds to the commanding words of the one who has authority. And you have authority because you are consciousness, and consciousness is the only creative power that exists. Abdullah taught this, Neville lived this, and now you know it. The question is not, does it work? The question is, are you going to apply it? Because when you truly speak to money directly, with authority, with absolute certainty, and persist in this position of consciousness, physical money has no choice but to respond. It is law, as Abdullah taught, as Neville proved, and as thousands since then have confirmed. Money is waiting for your voice of command, not your plea, your voice of authority. Now, you know the secret. Use it. Until the next video.